Welcome back. So we're up to part 2 of Aretha Franklin's life, and I'll be sharing how C.L. Franklin, Aretha Franklin's father, trained her to be a woman who would accept disrespect from men. Reverend C.L. Franklin was known to host sexual orgies in the family home. Ray Charles said, "When it came to pure sex, they were wilder than me, and that's saying something. In those days, I had a thing for orgies. But I had to be the only cat in the room with 2 or 3 chicks," he told Ritz, Aretha Franklin's biographer. The gospel people didn't think that way. The cats liked it with the cats and the chicks liked it with the chicks, and no one minded mixing it up this way or that. Ray's claims were backed up by R&B and gospel singer Billy Preston, who said, "It was the church crowd where the vibe was wide open." Now let me introduce you to Ted White, Aretha Franklin's first husband. Courtney Vance said, "Ted was a hustler, a pimp, and used to move women around, and came visiting at CL's house. And CL would bring Aretha down, and that's just messy. He'd bring his daughter down to the parties with celebrities because, sing something, she'll sing it right back. And he would have her do that, and she met Ted. And so when Ted was 28 or 29 years old and she got together when she was 16 or 17, what could CL say? 'Daddy, I met him in your house. He was good enough to come into your house.' We show that because that's what it was." Franklin learned to accept abuse by the example of her father. Reverend C.L. Franklin was known to be an abuser and a womanizer. Franklin's sister Irma said, "My parents' relationship was stormy, and my father had a violent temper. I'd also be lying if I didn't admit that we certainly knew about my father's reputation as a ladies' man. We saw how women in the church literally threw themselves at him. After I became older, I saw for myself that he availed himself of many of those women." Musicians B.B. King and James Cleveland, who regularly visited the Franklin home, detailed C.L. Franklin's brutal, recurrent violence against his then-lover, gospel great Carla Ward. In their presence, Cleveland described them as the church's version of Ike and Tina. "Everyone knew that Ted White was a brutal man," said Aretha Franklin's sister-in-law, Earlene. Etta James explained to Riz, "Ted was supposed to be the slickest pimp in Detroit. When I learned that Aretha married him, I wasn't surprised. A lot of the big-time singers who were idolized as girls had pimps for boyfriends and managers. Part of the lure of the pimps was that they got us paid. They protected us. They also beat us up. But Aretha," sister said, "But Aretha, she's always clung to this fairy tale storyline. She wanted the world to think she had a storybook marriage. She was having all those hits and making all that money. She was scared of rocking the boat until one day the boat capsized and she nearly drowned. She paid the price." Franklin's friend and ticketing manager Ruth Bowen said she had a habit of getting loaded before a performance. In no way did that help her singing. Aretha was big on denial. She didn't want to hear that she had a drinking problem. It didn't matter how many falls she suffered, how many tickets she got, how many subpar performances she gave due to inebriation. Her talent protected her. Even drunk, she could sing better than 99 out of 100 singers. Most people couldn't tell anything was wrong. In May 1967, she fell off stage in Columbus, Georgia, and broke her arm, with Ruth claiming it was because she was drunk. Then she started yearning for respect. Cecil told Ritz, Cecil's her brother, that White, her husband, was a violent cat whose violence only got worse. "I felt like Aretha was singing respect to Ted, her husband, but it hardly made any difference. He kept slapping her around and didn't care who saw him do it." Respect topped the charts in 1968. just as Franklin's personal life was falling apart. Now we're back to the NPR interview. The interviewer, Gross, says, "Now, your second single was Respect, which is, I believe, your still most requested song. How did you end up singing this Otis Redding song?" Well, I heard, excuse me, I heard Mr. Redding's version of it. I just loved it. And I decided I wanted to record it. And my sister Carolyn and I got together. I was living in a small apartment on the west side of Detroit, piano by the window, watching the cars go by, and we came up with that infamous line, the "sock it to me" line. It was a cliche of the day. Actually, we didn't just come up with it. It really was cliche. And some of the girls were saying that to the fellows, like, "sock it to me in this way," or "sock it to me in that way." Nothing sexual. And it's not sexual. It was non-sexual, just a cliche line. Gross. What did the song mean to you when you sang it? I mean, really, part of the backdrop of this song was it was a hit during the civil rights movement. And I think, Respect had a lot of meanings in the songs for your listeners. One was, just the respect you wanted from a man in a relationship. But it also had, I think, a larger resonance with the civil rights movement. A kind of larger social, cultural sense of respect. Yes, in later times it was picked up as a battle cry by the civil rights movement. But when I recorded it, it was pretty much a male-female kind of thing, and more in a general sense from person to person. I'm going to give you respect, and I'd like to have that respect back, or expect respect to be given back. Franklin and Ted White separated in 1968 and divorced in 1969. So you heard it there, how it starts. You see your parents modeling this kind of behavior, and things are more caught than taught, and you start internalizing. They're socialized you to accept certain things and to believe certain things. But fortunately for Aretha Franklin, she had a moment of awakening where she realized that respect is just the minimum, as Lauren says, Lauren Hill. So thank you so much for listening.